So, is it that time in your life yet? Do you feel like your family is complete and you and your spouse want to not worry about changing that? Well, the decision can be difficult, but the recovery doesn't have to be. After your vasectomy, you gotta get testes. Doctors usually recommend a jockstrap and ice for your boys to help with comfort. Well, testes is the best of both worlds. This is for the man who is out on the go and needs to get things done. You get the ice packs from the freezer, strap up, and saddle up. The packs give you at least 20 minutes of comfort, even if you're just sitting around watching the game. And most important, guys, no wet spots. Put on the jockstrap under your briefs and go about your day. They come in 3 sizes, medium, large, and extra large to get your right fit. Now head on over to testes.com. That's TEST-EEZE.com. TEST-EEZE.com. Your wife is going to thank you for the snip, and your testes are going to be thanking me. Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Dayspring Discussions. I'm your host, Sean McGahee, and this is a show where we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. If you geek out about it, we're going to talk about it. You can listen to Dayspring Discussions on YouTube, iTunes, Podomatic, Patreon, Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever, guys. While you're there, go and rate, review, subscribe, then head on over to the Facebook group and Twitter account and join in the discussion. Don't forget dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com if you want to write a little more lengthy question or comment. And then, of course, you can find me personally, Slim Dayspring 12 on Twitter and Instagram. Well, hello, everyone. It is Friday, January 15th. That's right. WandaVision has now dropped on Disney Plus, but I'm not going to talk about that. I am actually going to wait till later, probably tonight, to sit down and watch it with my wife, because I'm sure she wants to see it too. So we'll sit down and watch that tonight. I know people are already getting reviews up and stuff like that. I'm not worried about, getting early reviews or anything like that. Normally when a series comes out too, I wait till the end of the season to do a review. Sometimes I'll do a review of first couple episodes like The Mandalorian, and I'll probably do that too. What I really want to do is see if, when I sit down with my wife and watch it, see what she thinks. So maybe we can sit down sometime tomorrow and give just kind of our brief thoughts about the first ever MCU series. But today I do want to talk a little MCU, a little bit of news that came out yesterday, just kind of give some brief thoughts about it, because that's what I do here, right? This is a hobby for me. I don't do a lot of podcasts these days. Some people crank them out one a day or a couple every week. I don't get paid for this, but I am very passionate about the comic book, superhero, sci-fi, fantasy genre, especially when it comes to TV and films. So people know that about me, and they always ask my opinion and want to know stuff. So that's why I made this little podcaster show years ago. So people want to know my thoughts about things. They can always just listen to this, and, I don't have to get asked 500 times the same question, which is fine with me because I like discussing this stuff, but it makes it a little easier this way. And also, too, I only do these when there's something I really feel like I have an opinion on. I'm not forced to comment on little news stories about something I'm not really into, like anime or stuff like that. I like Star Wars, superheroes, Marvel, DC, stuff like that. And that's when I do an episode, when something comes out that really makes me feel like I want to comment about it and share my feelings about it, which is what I'm going to do right now, because yesterday we had some news shaken, is that Chris Evans allegedly is in talks to rejoin the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Captain America. Now, this was reported by Deadline. I'm going to break it down for you real quick. So, in today's world, I hate fake news, okay? I mean, I get it. People have websites, and they make these websites to get the advertising dollars in hopes of making money and making a living off it. I totally get that. They want to, make the money. So sometimes, they'll make headlines or take the tiniest bit of rumors and blow them up to big things to where they can get the hits, they can get the views, they can get the clicks, and of course that looks good for the advertisers, and hence they make more money. Much like there are some print media that puts out headlines just so they can sell papers with stuff that really isn't true or even verified. And this pisses me off a lot of times because it sends out false information, and some people who don't really investigate the source of where the story comes from, if it's reliable or not, will defend the story even though it's not really credible in my eyes or in other people's eyes. But in this world of news, of Hollywood news, all that stuff, there are several sources that are pretty dependable, that are very credited, have been around for a while, and when they say something or they say they have a source about something, you can usually trust them. Deadline is one of those sources that you can really, trust, I think, because they don't just go around making claims just for the sake of getting clicks or bites or headlines or whatever. Hollywood Reporter's the same thing, Variety. Those are kind of the main three entertainment sites or trades that if, it comes from one of those three, it's pretty verified that their sources are true. New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Entertainment Weekly, these are the ones that I trust. There are other sites that I do not trust. And my friend JR is all about We Got This Covered, which I think is a piece of shit website. But anyway, I don't want to get into that. This came from Deadline. And like I said, Deadline, I feel, is a trusted source. Their sources say Chris Evans is working on some kind of deal to come back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but not in his own thing. It says that he's going to make kind of guest appearances, similar how Robert Downey Jr. did toward the end of his contract, where he wasn't in Iron Man 4 or Iron Man 5. He was in Captain America Civil War, Spider-Man Homecoming, Infinity War, etc. Just, kind of like that. So not his own thing per se. Now, I was working all day, and I got home about 4 o'clock or so, and I hopped on Instagram and saw this headline, and I was like, wait, what? So then I, hopped online and kind of looked at it again. And as soon as I saw it, I saw another site that was from a Chris Evans tweet. And Chris Evans said, quote, "News to me," basically unverifying this story, saying that Chris Evans has not talked to Marvel or Disney about, returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's what we kind of get with that. So I'm going to break this down first from a deals perspective, and then I'm going to go down this theoretical rabbit hole of what could possibly happen should he return to the MCU, at least what I want to see. So as far as the story itself, you have two conflicting ones, right? The actor himself, Chris Evans, pretty much says, no, it's not true. Where a verified Hollywood, trade says, our sources say that there is some kind of deal in the works. It's not finalized, but there is some deal possibly in the works. And it makes sense because, Chris Evans, he's done stuff outside the MCU, but much like Robert Downey Jr. or Chris Hemsworth, he is always going to be known for his Marvel role. That's the biggest thing, really, when he's on his deathbed and when you see the news report about him passing many, many years from now, the headline will probably be, Captain America died, or, actor who played Captain America, something like that. Much like, when Adam West passed, he was still bestly known for being the 60s Batman, even though it was, 40, 50 years later. These are the roles that define their character, and it's something that, Chris Evans has said that when he took the role, he thought about, because he knew it was going to take up, 10 plus years of his life in this Captain America role. So he really thought about it and almost passed on it because he knew the impact it would have on the rest of his career. Now, normally, when an actor says, oh, this story's not true, I would be like, okay, it's not true. The actor says that, that's fine. But like I said, the source is Deadline. It's pretty trusted. And we know that in recent years, actors, directors, people in the entertainment industry try to deny stuff to catch the surprise. I mean, as soon as I saw that, Chris Evans was refuting this online, I immediately thought of Ewan McGregor for years, in every interview he did, he was asked if he was coming back to Star Wars to play Obi-Wan. And he said, oh, that'd be nice, but no, that'd be nice. I haven't heard anything, blah, blah, blah. And then lo and behold, we come to find out that, no, he did hear something. In fact, he's been lying for several years about, coming back to play Obi-Wan all this time, just so, they could have that surprise. And I don't blame them. It's what it is. It's how the game is played. So if Chris Evans says, no, I'm not working on a deal to play Captain America, I would, normally believe him, I guess, if they says flat out no. But again, it's Deadline. It's a reliable source. And I feel like they would be more trusted than the actor himself, because number one, if the deal's not closed yet, he doesn't want to say anything. Evans wouldn't want to say anything, but also, there's probably going to be some big announcement, next year or whatever, that Marvel Studios puts out that says Captain America is back. And then, of course, we're all going to be like, oh, yeah, we read that Deadline story a year ago. A big deal. So, I don't know. In this day and age, like I said, you can believe the actor. There's a lot of false news going around. You can believe, the actor or the person that the story is about. If it was any other source besides, Deadline, Variety, Hollywood Reporter, I wouldn't believe it. I would just move on. I wouldn't be doing this right now. If We Got This Covered said that Chris Evans is coming back as Captain America, and, they don't have a good source in it all, I'd be like, okay, it's fake news, and I'll move on. But because it's Deadline, I feel like we have to, at least take notice of it, not put a lot of stock in it per se, not trying to get my hopes up too much. But, Evans could be playing that Hollywood game where he's trying to deny it so that way they can have a bigger announcement later down the road, especially the fact that it came out only a day before MCU's first television show on Disney Plus, WandaVision, and Disney and Marvel want the focus to be on that. They don't want people focusing on Chris Evans coming back as Captain America. They want fans to focus on WandaVision. And then, of course, coming up, we have Eternals, Black Widow, all the other projects that aren't, Chris Evans possibly coming back as Captain America. They don't want that to be the story. They want the story to be what is actually coming out, such as WandaVision and these other things. So, him denying it, Marvel denying it, whatever, could be them trying to shift the focus on what they want us, the audience, to focus on. That's just the Hollywood game, and can't say I blame them. I totally don't blame them. So I'm not putting a lot of stock in it. I'm not going to get my hopes up and say, yeah, he's coming back, definitely. But, if he did come back, I'd be fucking excited about it. I would. I mean, I saw the headline and immediately in my head, the Avengers theme started playing. And the reason I'd be so excited is because Captain America is my favorite character in the MCU. I think a lot of people kind of brushed him off in regards to the first Avenger, which I love that movie, and the Avengers. But it was really the Winter Soldier that I think showed everyone just what a great character this could be. And it's funny, too, because when Chris Evans was cast as Captain America, I was against it. I was totally against it, actually, because every role that I saw Chris Evans in up until that point, he was like the young jokester, the funny guy, and I'm like, no, that's not Captain America. Captain America is a strong, serious, bold leader. That Chris Evans can't do that. He's, Johnny Storm, the Human Torch from the Fantastic Four, which he did a great job in, because that's what a lot of his roles were, and I thought he did a great job of that. Lo and behold, he comes on over and does a great job of, not really changing what I think Captain America is, but, making it work, really. And I thought, great job, great Captain America. The Captain America trilogy is, my favorite superhero trilogy, actually. There's the debate I think a lot of fans do now, which is, Chris Nolan's Dark Knight or, the Captain America trilogy. Which one is the better or the best superhero trilogy? It's a great debate to have, and I fall on the Captain America side. Even though to get the complete Captain America story, you got to watch 7 films, 4 Avengers films and 3 Captain America films, but that's neither here nor there. And in regards to Cap, I read comic books, of course. I've been reading Marvel comics my whole life. Captain America, while, I enjoy the character, he's not my favorite Marvel character. I don't think he's really even my top five, perhaps. And as far as Steve Rogers, I mean, my favorite Captain America run in the comics has been the Ed Brubaker run, the one I've enjoyed the most, which is actually the Death of Captain America storyline where Bucky took over as Cap. That's the one that I actually own and I like most. So my favorite Captain America comics are ones where Steve Rogers isn't even Captain America, but, it happens. My favorite Marvel character single-wise, Daredevil, but, the most thing I love about Marvel is X-Men. That's my favorite Marvel team, but I love Daredevil, Iron Fist, Guardians of the Galaxy, depending on who's writing them, really. And that's all it comes out to as well. Who's writing the character these days? Who's your favorite author, so to speak? That makes a big difference on, how much you enjoy each character. But yes, Captain America, my favorite character in the MCU. My second favorite is Star-Lord. Those are the two that I really gravitate towards. I tell people because I want to be Captain America, but I know I'm really a Star-Lord, and that's why I enjoy those two characters the most. Okay, so before I go down hypothetical alley, I want to just, say, briefly I talked about this, commenting with a friend online on the Facebook group, is I do believe Captain America has had a complete story, much like Tony Stark as Iron Man has had a complete storyline, from Iron Man to Endgame or Captain America the First Avenger to Endgame. Those two characters have been really the central figures of the MCU, like a Superman and Batman type characters. And, I think they both had really great complete story arcs that are just perfect. And Endgame was, the culmination of the Infinity Saga, as Kevin Feige put it. And it really did almost, put that endpoint, so to speak, on the Marvel Cinematic Universe as we know it. And moving forward, we're going to see new characters, new storylines, moving on without that original Avengers team that we started off with at the end of Phase 1. Captain America's gone, Iron Man's gone, Black Widow's gone, allegedly. You're left with Thor, Hulk. I don't think we're really going to see, Jeremy Renner does have the Hawkeye series, but I think he's more passing the torch in the series, to where I don't think he's going to be on there too much longer. It's one of those things where if you look at the original Avengers team as well, Robert Downey Jr. and Mark Ruffalo, I think, have the best potential to continue their roles for the longest, being that, Robert Downey Jr. is in a CG Iron Man suit. So when the action is happening, it's not really him doing it. It's a CGI character. Same thing with Mark Ruffalo. Mark Ruffalo turns into the Hulk. It's a CGI character, not actually Mark Ruffalo. So those guys could play those characters, I believe, into their, 60s, 70s, whatever, as long as needs be. Whereas other characters like, Captain America, Thor, Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, they have to, keep in shape, keep in the diet, work out several times a day to keep their alleged superhero bods and keep them in shape. Hugh Jackman played Logan or Wolverine for 15, 16 years, something like that. And he said, when it came to the end, he's like, I'm tired of working out several times a day. I'm tired of the diet. I can see why it would be so, strenuous and brutal, and why, keeping that up for a long time, I don't think I'd have the willpower for it. I mean, if I'm getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars, I probably would do it, but it'd be hard. I love pizza way too much. So that's why I'm a little surprised that, say Chris Hemsworth is still doing Thor, but at the same time, again, we're looking at after Endgame, and let's look at the actors' careers, Chris Hemsworth, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, they're not exactly blowing up the box office after or outside of the MCU, which, some people say that it's more likely they're coming back if they're not getting that praise that they get within the MCU outside the MCU. Why Chris Hemsworth maybe wants to do a Thor 4, or, Chris Evans might want to come back, or, Robert Downey Jr. might want to come back, leaving the door open in those ways because of the praise they get from it. And, actors, it's the money and the vanity. I mean, I'm not saying they're horrible people, but they didn't become actors because they want to do good for the world. They want to be on stage and they want to perform and they want to bring joy and they want to get paid. So I'm sure if Chris Evans is coming back, much like Robert Downey Jr. re-signing his contract, he's going to get a really good deal, because I think we all know that post Endgame there hasn't been a lot of buzz for the MCU, much like there was. The MCU is starting from scratch almost. You're bringing in, Eternals. You got Spider-Man and Doctor Strange there, but you're bringing in a lot of characters that a lot of fans, even comic book fans, aren't well known. When the MCU started out, Spider-Man and the X-Men were the big Marvel characters, but they were owned by other companies. So what Marvel Studios did is be like, okay, we have Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, we could do Avengers, and they took those characters that were not top tier like X-Men or Spider-Man, but right below that, ones that people knew. People knew the name Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, but they might not have known a lot about them. But they took them, they made some good movies, they created the cinematic universe, the only successful cinematic universe in my eyes, aside from the DC animated universe. But I'm not going down that discussion. But anyway, took these characters and made them bigger than what the X-Men, and almost as big, or if the same level, of what Spider-Man was, and I think. And then they took a very unknown property like Guardians of the Galaxy and made them very mainstream. Now the question is, can they do that again, but not with just one property like Guardians of the Galaxies, but a lot of them, with Eternals and with Shang-Chi and with all these characters that I myself, who, have read comic books for years, I'm not really into Shang-Chi. I'm not really into Eternals. I know of them. I know briefly about them, but I know with Eternals especially, every time I've tried to read an Eternals comic, I just can't get into it. So, Captain America I can get into, Thor I can get into, Iron Man my least favorite of the three, but, the other characters, the things that are coming up, I'm not really, looking forward to as much as I was all the other movies that have come out in the MCU. But there were a lot of movies within the MCU that I wasn't super excited about that I still enjoyed. It's still Marvel Studios, it's still the MCU, it's still Kevin Feige. And what he does, or what he did, is such a great success that I have every faith that I will enjoy these films, and everyone else will too, to some degree. I mean, even with WandaVision, I'm not super excited about it because Wanda and Vision aren't really my favorite characters. I'm more excited for Falcon Winter Soldier coming out in a couple of months because you're still set in that Captain America world. And like I said, Captain America being my favorite MCU character gets me more excited than, say, WandaVision or even some of the other shows they have. I mean, Loki looks cool, but again, not really what I'm most excited about for the MCU, but I'm still anxious to check it out because it is still MCU. It is still the brainchild of Kevin Feige. So, and I think a lot of people in the public sense get that, the MCU doesn't have the hype around it that it did a couple of years ago. So how do you get some of that hype back? Well, bring in, your one of your two most popular characters, Captain America, is definitely a way to get people more excited. But if it makes sense for us story-wise, I can see it happening. I don't want them to do it just to be gimmicky. And given the fact that I just said that I feel like Captain America's story is complete, there's not to say there's some, little holes we can fill in. Of course, my favorite my favorite theory is what happens to Cap when he goes to return the Infinity Stones in Endgame. He's got the stones, he's got Mjolnir, he goes back and he has to go to several different spots in time and space to return these stones, and eventually he ends up, back in the 40s with Peggy and lives a happy life with her, which is great. It's a complete story from a character who we saw in the first Avenger being completely selfless in every way possible to, in the end, being a little selfish and wanting to go back and live a happy life just for himself. Kind of the opposite of what Tony went through, where in Iron Man we see him being completely selfish and then at the end selfless. And again, the symmetry between those two characters and the way they work and the way that their stories are so complete, just again, all praise to our Lord and Savior, Kevin Feige. So anyway, what I would love to see, I would love to see Cap's adventures in time and space, returning the Infinity Stones in some kind of mini-series within Disney Plus. I think would be really great. Really love to see it. Even I thought of this yesterday is, what if Peggy joins him? What if he doesn't go back immediately to return the stones? What if he goes back to see Peggy first, and Peggy goes on the time adventure with him? That would be something really cool. Or another idea, of course, is, people have made videos and talked about this where Cap's already seen the future, and then he goes back in time from the 1940s and has to relive all these worldwide events, like Vietnam and 9/11 and all these terrible things that happen in between now and then. And he knows they're going to happen. What does he do? Does he just sit on the sidelines and let, people die and these terrible things happen? That's a great moral conundrum. Again, going back to, I was skimming through Civil War and Infinity War these last couple days to kind of, get some WandaVision recap going on. But there's that line, of course, one of my favorite scenes in Civil War where Tony and Steve are talking about, and it was Steve saying, I wish I could sit and, watch things happen, but I can't, Of course, I totally butchered the line, but it's about Captain America not being able to sit on the sidelines and do nothing when watching bad things happen. And I think for that type of character, going back in time and having to live, knowing what's coming, all these terrible things, would be a great moral conundrum for him and a great personal story. So that's where my mind goes. If you want to do Captain America, bringing him back to the MCU, you can't do, old man Steve. Actually, I always thought about this too, was what if in that first season or first episode of Falcon Winter Soldier, you get to see Steve Rogers' funeral. I think it'd be very powerful for both Falcon and Winter Soldier, for Bucky and for Sam, to bury their best friend, their mentor. It'd be a very powerful way, I think, to start the series. I don't think it's going to happen, but to me, if I were doing it, that's something I think would be a good thing to see in regards to what the setting of this show seems to be, which is, who's going to carry the shield, what's going to happen to the legacy of Captain America, and how his friends are going to continue the example, the journey that Steve Rogers as Captain America has set for the world, and what the world looks like without Captain America. But according to the Deadline article, it's not a solo thing. If they're working on anything, it's going to be more of a piece where he's going to be in other things. So a little disappointing. I'd rather see him in his own thing. But how he would fit into other movies, I don't know. I mean, honestly, Black Widow comes out, allegedly during the summer, and that is supposed to be, in between Civil War and Infinity War. And we know that, in that time, Falcon, Cap, and Black Widow have been, in hiding, traveling around together along with Wanda, too. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get some kind of appearance by Chris Evans as Steve Rogers and, Anthony Mackie, all them there, where, Black Widow's like, okay, I know we're going around doing this thing, but I got to go back to Russia to take care of some other stuff. Just a brief, appearance, because those characters are around at that time because we're right after Civil War. So I can see them making an appearance in that. Of course, it's already been filmed if it's already happened. But, anything else, I don't know. Could he pop up in, say, Eternals? I don't think so, because that's already been shot. What's coming down the pipe is all stuff that seems like it's, future, like, moving forward, not going to the past. So how you work Captain America in there, I don't know. Which, again, gives me more doubt as to how they could fit him in there. What role Chris Evans could have, I don't know. But like I said, my dream scenario, it's about the Stones. It's about his journey with the Stones, and maybe even seeing how history unfolds and how he struggles with trying to do nothing, or if he does something, changing the timeline. But also, of course, bringing back Haley Atwell as Peggy Carter. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1 was pretty good. Season 2, not so good. But, I love Peggy Carter as a character. I love Haley Atwell. I think she's super hot. And, bringing her in there, someone to play off of, I think it'd be so great. That's what I want to see. Again, I love Captain America as an MCU character, so any more time I get to spend with him, I would love that. However, given the fact that Chris Evans has denied this, I'm not going to put too much stock into it, but if it is true, I'm super excited, and really, I'm just going to, wait at this point. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'm not one of those fans that, has a theory, and if it doesn't happen, then I get disappointed and mad about it. I don't like headcanon. I like theories. I don't like headcanon. I think a lot of fans, have an idea of what they want to happen, and if it doesn't happen, they get pissed off and kind of, deny what is. Walk into a movie, thinking what you want to see happen, and then if it doesn't happen, don't be mad about it. Just kind of try to enjoy it for what it is. That's why with Star Wars or Marvel movies or some of the other movies, I always watch them back to back. Like I'll go opening night and then the very night after, because that first night I have those expectations of what I want the film to be and what I want to see, and then the second night I can go back and I can actually just enjoy it for what it is and get a better perspective on it. That's what I do. So enjoy your media and your entertainment for what it is, not what you want it to be. And this is the same thing. If I don't get Captain America, I still have 7 great films and a complete story arc with Chris Evans. If I get more of it, awesome. Be happy that it happened, not be sad that it's over. What it is, guys. So that is it for me. I think I went a little long on my brief thoughts on this deadline report, but I want to know what you think. Fire back, of course, in the comments section or on the social media groups, Facebook group, and of course, Twitter account, dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com. Like I said, I'm going to watch WandaVision tonight. I think it's 2 episodes that are up on Disney Plus, and then I'll see if I can do another brief review of those first couple episodes, see if I can get my wife Lisa in here with me so I can get her perspective on it. But that's it, guys. Like I said, follow me, Slim Dayspring 12 on Twitter and Instagram. Hope you guys have a good weekend, have a good week, and until next time, may the force be with us all.